let's start by looking at a scenario where water in a pond looks cloudy and smells unusual. Your teacher assigns you the task of using a light microscope to investigate a sample of the pond water and determine what might be causing the issue. You collect a small sample in a vial and bring it to the lab and set up the microscope to identify any microorganisms or particles in the water and report your findings. So describe the correct steps for preparing a wet mount slide for the pond water sample and explain why each step is important. Why is it recommended to begin with the lowest magnification when observing a new slide? Explain the difference between coarse focus and fine focus knobs and when it should be used during the investigation. What features of the light microscope help you see the details of the organisms? And then the eyepiece of your microscope has a magnification of 10. If you switch to the objective lens with magnification 40, what is the total magnification of the image you're viewing? Show you're working. So let's proceed to see how we can address these tasks. So when you are preparing a wet mount slide, you can follow the following steps. One, of course, you need to get a small drop of the pond water and place that drop on a clean microscope slide. That is the first step. So you can pick, you can get this drop either using a dropper to place that drop on the slide. Okay. So after placing that drop on the slide, it's very important that you don't use a larger sample of the pond water. You don't put a larger sample of the pond water on the microscope slide because it will make viewing very difficult because the light cannot pass through. Remember, for the light microscope to work, it uses light. Okay, so make sure that you have little, and that's why a drop is what is actually required. A drop of water on the microscope slide is what is required because it is thin enough for light to pass through, and that means that you can be able to see. The second step is that you need to cover that drop of the pond water using a cover slip. Okay, but you need to cover at an angle, just like what you see in the image, at an angle here. This is what we are referring to. Why? Such that you don't allow air to be trapped between the microscope slide and the cover slip. You don't want to have air there because the air, if it is actually trapped there, it will prevent you from having a better view. So this is to prevent air interference with the view. The third step is that you can use a paper towel and wipe the edges of the cover slip to such that you can remove that excess water. Okay, this helps you in making sure that you can be able to keep your sample in place and prevents movement of the microscope slide when you place it on the stage. Okay, so you need to put that microscope slide on the stage and make sure it is well put in place so that it does not move. And then, of course, using the clips on the stage to make sure that it is well fixed and it can't move. The next step is now, after putting your slide on the stage, you can now view what is in the sample. And you need to use the lower magnification first. So in this case, in the image that you are having for the microscope, the one with the lower magnification is this one. For magnification of 4 is what is the one that has a lower magnification in this microscope. Okay, why do we use a lens of lower magnification first? Is that it prevents damage to the slide and allows you to easily focus. So the second question, which was why is it recommended to begin with the lowest magnification when observing a new slide? That is exactly what I've just explained, is that you start with the lens that has the lowest magnification, and this gives you a better view, making it very easy for you to first locate the structures that you want to look at, and then later on when you adjust with the higher magnification, you can get better views, or you can get a better view to get more details about the structures that you are using. But also, using a lower magnification prevents damage to the slide and also the lens. So start with low magnification, then move to higher magnifications. So what's the difference between focus and fine focus knobs, and when do you use them when you're observing, for example, this sample? The coarse focus knob is basically to move the stage up and down such that you can bring the sample into focus. Okay, and this is used when you use that lower magnification. Now the fine focus knob is now when you want to get the clearest pictures or the clearest images of what you're looking at, and therefore you need to use a higher magnification. Okay, so use a higher magnification if you want to look at the finer details, the sharpest and the most clear image of what you're looking at. Okay, when using the light microscope, you need to use the different parts of this microscope appropriately, because this microscope is basically working as a system. That if you don't align things quite well, that is, if you don't make sure that there is sufficient light entering into the sample, it's going to be very difficult for you to look at the samples in details. And then you need to move the lenses, and of course, like we have just said, you start with low magnification, then go to higher magnification. Okay, and these adjustments have to do with what knobs are you going to use to make sure that you have your images in focus, whether at low magnification or even at high magnification. And we have already noted that if you're using high magnification, that's when you want to look at the details of the structures clearly. Therefore, you need to use the fine adjustment knob. If you are still adjusting, you're looking at the sample for the first time, you start using the lower magnification lens, and therefore you use the coarse knob adjustment to do that. Okay, so that is still very important. So make sure that you have sufficient light. Make sure that light indeed enters through the diaphragm and can reach the sample, and then make those adjustments. If you use them quite correctly, you'll definitely get better details of the organisms that you're looking at in that sample. Like we have already seen, when we are looking at magnification in a light microscope, we check the magnification of the lens, objective lens, and then we also take the magnification of the objective lens, and also take the magnification of the eyepiece, and then mode plan. Okay, so it is 10 times 40, and therefore we get a magnification of 400, and that would be how many times the image will appear bigger than the object. Okay, so that marks the end